Dear participant, very good evening. Yeah, good evening. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are
Yes, sir,
audible.
you are audible.
Yes. So thank you so much. Welcoming you all for the ninth day. More or less, we are going to complete this international research methodology workshop. After a long time, we are organizing this event, and for the past 8 days, even I'm not able to recollect how these 8 days passed. Okay, and for the previous 6 days, we had a good hands-on session with Professor Shobna ma'am, and day before yesterday, we had a good session with Professor Nandini ma'am. And yesterday we got a good session with Naresh sir. And today we got another resource person, sustainable resource person in our venue. And while talking with her, while approaching her, Dr. Madhubala ma'am, and she voluntarily accepted and she told, no sir, I will be taking care all the events. And she was experienced in lot of things. Not only this only particular domain alone, apart from teaching, she has getting more information. She has both basic knowledge as well as in-depth knowledge about various things. And in the evening she asked me, "Sir, I was not feeling well, but anyway, I will take the class." I was sincerely, we are thankful to the commitments and sincerity of the resource person. So regarding Dr. Madhupala ma'am, she's working as assistant professor in the Department of English and being in the field of expert. So she's working as assistant professor in the Department of English. So today we, of course, along with the class, we will be learning more English phrases as well as classes. Definitely, ma'am will be taking this class engaging one, and today she will be taking the classes on peer review as well as collaborative critique in the academic writing. So while in the academic writing, what are the progress to be there, what are the process to be there, and what are the protocols to be followed, and everything we'll be having a discussion, and she'll be taking the class followed by you'll be having the discussion without taking much time. And let me handle the session to over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for the brief introduction, and thank you for this opportunity. So before we begin, let me just share. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, thank you. So as you have been through 8 different sessions for the past 8 days. Now we are on the 9th day, as sir said, and we are into peer review and collaborative critique in academic writing. So in this session, we will be getting into a comprehensive exploration of how this peer review and collaborative critique is very important in academic writing to enhance our writing or research for that matter. So I'm Dr. Madhubala, Assistant Professor from School of Arts and Science, which is the Chennai campus of VMRF, deemed to be university. So before we move on into the session, I just want to put forth a question to the audience here. What strikes your mind when you hear the word peer review? So we are actually ending up hearing this word peer review if we are academicians, students, scholars, whoever it might be. We come across this peer review as a word very frequently. So what actually strikes your mind when you hear this word actually? You can put your thoughts in chat box so that we can start with the discussion and move on. Yes, someone shared that feedback from colleague in the same field or subject. Okay, feedback from our colleagues. Checked by others. Okay. Collaboration of thoughts. That's actually nice. Okay, peer reviewed journal. Yes, we usually come across this peer reviewed journals. Evaluation done by experts. Okay. Okay, article which is reviewed or corrected by expertise. Critical evaluation. Yes. So most of us have an idea that it is a feedback from someone, or it is a check by someone, or it is used as a checkpoint in a journal. So these are some of the thoughts that usually strikes us, right? So this peer review is not just about having a check, rather than it has more in-depth and it has more in-depth value rather than being just a check. We always have this fear of okay, peer-reviewed journal. Then we'll have this fear of how our paper is going to pass through this. Okay, so that fear is something that we are going to break here, where through this session we are just going to understand what is peer review, and by the end of the session, I hope you will also be able to do a peer review and collaborative critique to your peers or your colleagues or your friends. Okay, so first let's move on to see what this peer review is all about. So as as someone said, it is a check, or it is a checkpoint in a journal. Okay, so usually we have this in mind. It is a checkpoint in a journal. So what do they actually do is, when we submit a paper, okay, we submit a paper, we write it, we submit it to them according to the rules and regulations that is expected in that journal. We submit it and we looking for the feedback from them, right? So who are actually sending this feedback? So this is actually passing on to the editor, and the editor pass it on to the reviewers, who are the peer review members, who will be subject experts of the specific area in which you have written the work. So they will get through this work and they will give their feedback, which is again reviewed by the editor and passed on to you as a feedback, which sometimes will be a constructive feedback and sometimes it would be a rejective feedback. So based on this, we go about it. So this is for the academic journal publishing point of view. And let's keep it very general, okay, today. So what is this peer review in general? So we can actually call this peer review as refereeing, okay, how we are actually performing. Rather than making it after the writing completion, we can have this peer review as a factor of as a fact of very important matter, which we can use while we write itself, which will be very helpful for us because that will make us understand where we stand. Okay, so why is it called as refereeing? Why do I use the term refereeing here? It is because it is actually a process where we evaluate an academic submission or an academic writing. Okay, it's not just a mere checkpoint. Rather, it actually validates what we have written. It enhances our credibility. It improves our academic work. And this improves the quality of our writing and also the research. Okay, so this actually makes the focus very specific, the vagueness very clear, and by which it makes our writings enhanced. So why is this peer-reviewed journals or peer reviewing valued more? Is because of this high check process that it goes through. Okay, the strict criteria through which any writing is being evaluated. Because of this, the peer-reviewed journals are actually having more value compared to the other journals. So that is the same thing that we can understand in general way of evaluating writing process of our students or our colleagues or our friends. So where this peer review is involved, there will be a credibility of this particular source and value for the source of writing. So peer review is something which is very, very important for any writing for that matter, be it research or any kind of daily writings that we do. So before getting into this in detail, I just wanted to tell you a short history of this as on how we ended up into this process of peer review. Okay, so very first scientific journal that started in 1665, which was by the Royal Society of London. So this is still in print. So when this publication began, this journal began, there was no very formal way of peer review. Rather, there was an editor called Henry Oldenburg. So this person was the editor, and he was the one who checked the journals. He was the one who gone through the papers and all that. And with the help of experts, not very formally, but it was very informal in the beginning, where they did and it moved on. So this was the beginning stage of how it started. Then I would like to quote a small example from history, which happened in 1953. Okay, so the paper was written by these two fellows, that's Watson and Crick. Okay, so these people wrote a paper, which was submitted to Nature. Okay, so this was on double helix. This was submitted to the journal called Nature. So here, while submitting this paper, they are also submitting a covering letter. Okay, this was very interesting when I read about this, which is why I wanted to share it with you. So this was actually from their own scientific lab they are writing, where they had peer members who worked on this particular research. They discussed it and they came up with this particular outcome. And they are mentioning in that saying, I would like to quote, we and our colleagues at the laboratory for molecular biology deemed to appropriate for Nature. Okay, so this particular journal, this particular writing that we are sending to this journal, we think it is very important for this particular journal is what they are telling for sure. Okay, by we, they mention that it is a peer work. Okay, so by looking into this, what the editor of the journal is giving back is the Crick and Watson paper could not have been refereed. Okay, its correctness is self-evident. So this is what they have decided, and by which they are publishing the work. So this is the importance they gave to a collaborative work or a peer-reviewed work. Okay, initially, even in the mid 1970s, it was informal. This is what we could understand from this history example from history. So later, later after this 20th century, in this 20th century, we are understanding how it has been formalized. Okay, when initially how it was very informal and how it gradually getting into process, and now we are into the place where peer review is very important. So this is the short history that I wanted to tell you to just show how this peer review is valued much even before it started formally. Okay, so this Watson and Crick's example is very interesting as the work of them, the work that is being done collaboratively with the peer review is valued so much, and they even published the paper in one check. So that is something that proves the value of peer review better to us. So where is this peer review actually used? So we have to understand that it is not only restricted to this area of being used only in the publishing sector. Rather, it also helps in other areas also. It is very well used in classroom setting. So I as a teacher use this peer review technique in classroom, because my way of teaching is through activities. So usually when I give activities, they indulge with their peer and I make them give feedbacks within themselves, which will help them to enhance their quality of learning better. So this is actually a very good pedagogical tool, is what I believe, and also many other teachers believe, I guess. So it is we should understand that peer review is not only for academic publishing, rather it is used in many other sectors, where it is widely used in medical fields to test the quality of the productions that they do, or even the teaching quality to test it, they use this. Okay, and while writing grant applications, this is widely used in United Nations and also in America, and even in other funding nations. And it is very widely used in academic publishing arena, where we already know about it. So these are the areas in which peer reviewing is very commonly used, is what we find. So we have to understand that it is not limited to academic publishing. Rather, it is also a pedagogical tool and lot more than what we actually think. So why is this peer review very important? So it is very important, as I already told you, because we share thoughts, we understand it better. So let me put it very clear to you. The first thing which makes it very important is it makes us understand the accuracy of what we have written, because the reviewers actually verify our methods, the claims that we make, and the evidence that we have produced for our arguments. So these are actually reviewed by the reviewers properly, and they are giving a feedback. So while reading this feedback, we will understand what is the accuracy of our writing that we have given. And the second thing that we understand is the clarity. We'll get the clarity on what we have written, what we have argued, and how we have structured that argument. So putting an argument, we always think as a writer, it just overflows, like how Wordsworth says, it's overflow, it's a spontaneous overflow. It's like that. Research paper is like that, where you sit sometime, you write, it goes with the flow. Where you stop it, it will stop, and you will keep it for 2 or 3 months, just like that, and then you take it after 2 or 3 months. So this is how it goes, basically, when we think about writing, thesis writing for that matter, any essay writing for that matter, or a creative writing for that matter. But as we take this timeline, we don't get this clarity even after n number of time of reading that we do ourselves. But when we give it to others, they give us the clarity of what we are actually arguing, whether we are giving a proper evidence or proper examples to substantiate our arguments. So this is very important, and how we are actually structured, how we have actually structured the quality of the paper or the argument of the paper is very, very important, which we will not understand when we read ourselves. Rather, we understand it better when we get it into a peer-reviewed way. Okay, so then we will also have a confirmation about the originality, okay, where how it is new and how significant it is, because they will also, it is not only about the criticism that they make, rather it is also about the constructive criticism they make, because they will also tell us how unique the paper or the writing is. So when we get to know how unique or the creative the paper is, we will get to know, okay, we will get to have a confidence on continuing with the research better or continuing with the writing better. Okay, so it also upholds disciplinary norms. It also follows ethics, like polishing our way of quoting, polishing our literature review and everything. So it also helps in with our academic integrity, which is very important. So we have to always have in mind that this peer review as an immune system of academic writing, okay, which is very important to filter our weakness, errors, and unethical practices. Okay, so it's very, very important. Let's move on further to understand the types of peer review commonly in journals. So there is the first type called single blind peer review. So this is a very common type of peer review where the names of the reviewers are not known by the author. So the author will not know the reviewer's name, rather the reviewer will know the author's name. Okay, so this is the common single blinded type that we could see. So this is very common type, but it is being mostly criticized for its potential harshness, because there are possibilities where the peer reviewer will give harsh comments, and there are possibilities for intellectual theft also. So because of these reasons, there are so many criticisms, but it is most commonly used type of peer review. Okay, so the second type is double-blind peer review. So in this, both the authors and the reviewers will not know whose work is this and whose work we are reviewing and who is actually giving the feedback. Nothing they will know. So this is actually something that mitigates this prejudice or favorism or something like that we usually think that will happen in this sort of area. So this reputation and all will not work here. So in this type is very, very encouraged. But still, here also there are few criticisms where people argue that there are possibilities of intellectual theft. So when we see there is this common criticism for all these types, because because it is very eminent that intellectual theft can happen in any type of these reviews. Okay, so even in triple blind review, it happens where anybody will not know who is actually submitting or who is actually reviewing or who is actually even the editor will not know who is actually reviewing or whose paper is this, nothing. So all the three people will not know. But logically, this type is very, very challenging. So only very less number of journals have this, and it's very rare because without even knowing who the reviewer is, how will the editor manage between the author and the reviewer? So it's very difficult, right? So for those challenges are there here. So in that way, this type is very difficult. And fourth is the collaborative review. So in this review, everybody will know each other. They will have a discussion. Okay, so this is more healthy way of having review is what I think, because here there will be more healthy way of conversation between all the three people. There will be constructive criticisms, constructive critics, so that they can have a check with more people, and they will have one-on-one conversations. Sometimes there will be possibility of meeting in person, having Google or online meetings where they can share what is the actual potentiality of the paper, and they can give feedback so that the author can review, where the editor also can give in some ideas. So this we can see more in the way we do our PhD PhD these days. That is the doctoral committee meetings that we go through, where everyone will give us reviews and ideas, so that it will be easy for the writer to think on those grounds too, which they have left. Okay, so this collaborative review is something which is more credible, and but this also is sometimes very challenging, because putting all together everybody together in their own time is very difficult, and it is also resource intensive. That is very important. So the final one is open review method, where all the parties will know each other and they will know their identity. But this will affect the integrity, because sometimes there is the possibility of giving credibility to the reputation, known people, and all that. So in that way, this actually becomes a problem, and it has some challenges. So each and every type that we have seen here now, all these 5 types have their own challenges. And based on how we would like to do it, we can approach journals accordingly, and we can go with what we actually expect. So with this, I would like to stop with what is peer review. Let us come back to this later, after getting to know what is collaborative critique in academic setting also. So I just again wanted to stop here and ask, what do you think about this collaborative critique? Have you heard about it in academic setting? What do you think about it? What strikes to your mind when you see this word collaborative critique in academic writing or setting? What does this mean? How is it different from peer review? You can pull in your answers in the chat box as we did earlier. Am I audible? Am I audible
Yes,
to
ma'am, you
everyone?
are. Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. So you can pull in your answers here. So all participants participate in providing constructive comments. Yes, that's good. So what do you think is the difference between this peer review and collaborative critique? Working together, okay. Working together, healthy criticism for our from us from for us from our colleagues. Okay. What else comes to your mind? For goal, for work. Okay, it's a group criticism. Archana ma'am, can you explain what do you mean by for goal? If you could unmute and explain, it would be better.
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
you
Yes.
can,
To complete our task, ma'am.
okay, to complete our task. Okay. So Garima Rati, what do you mean by our work?
Ma'am, actually, I want to write healthy criticism for our work from our colleagues. So
Okay,
work is
okay.
yes, yes.
Okay, healthy criticism. Okay. Any other things that comes to your mind? So I asked you one more question. How is it different from peer review? Saru Singh. Critic should not be seen as negative, but it helps to focus on the areas that might be missed. Great. So can I get insights from you on how is it different from peer review? What do you think about it? So here also we are telling criticism, we are telling us feedback and all that. There also we said it's a feedback. So how is it different? Why do we have peer review and collaborative critique? What is the difference between these two? I think peer review may be blind, but collaborative critique is not. Great. Okay. All participants know each other. It is in person. Okay. Person and group. Mutual support. Okay. Yes. So we often think that this collaborative critique is something that happens after writing. Okay. As I already said about peer review, also in the same way, there is a slight line of difference between peer review and collaborative critique, which you will be able to understand by the end of the this particular session about collaborative critique. So we all think that this should be at the end of the writing, okay, the writing process. But think of what if a critic is there along with the process of writing? How would that facilitate our writing? Have you ever thought like that? Have you ever done your writings like that? You can share your experiences. You can put in chat box, or you can, if you're comfortable, you can unmute and you can talk. So peer review is formal and collaborative critique is informal and interactive process. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this answer. So have you ever thought of having this idea of collaborative critique while you start writing itself? How do you think that will work? Have you ever done like that? Or is it new to you? You can just share your experience. I want this session to be interactive. Yes, ma'am. During research paper writing process, I and my colleague discussed. Great. Okay. So can you share your experience here? Okay, it is new for you. Tanu, can you share your experience here? How it was when you shared it? Sorry, I think it is Garima Rati. Can you share your experience, how you discussed it with your colleague? So sharing your experience will help the others also understand better, which is why I ask you to share. Can you unmute yourself and do, ma'am? Garima Rati.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I wrote my paper first time.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And before writing, I was so confused because I did not know how to write, how to discuss my views in my research paper. But my colleague helped me so much because he was senior to me, and he helped me how to write literature review in research paper, how to discuss our means our research findings with other person's research work.
Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's great. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you for sharing that experience.
Thank you,
So,
ma'am.
yeah. So, this is what typically happens, okay, when you do this collaborative uh, critic while you start your writing itself. Okay, so I didn't do this when I started writing. Recently, for the past 2 years only, I'm doing it. Okay, I recently the beginning of the year I completed my doctorate. Only in the past 2 years I'm being used with this particular technique. Okay, so this was something that struck me when I had an experience with my friend who is completely new to my field. Okay, I wrote a paper and I was just sharing that I'm writing this paper. As you know, I'm from literature background. So our way of research is completely different, where we do thematical research or we do sometimes we do survey, qualitative research and all that. But our way of doing it is a little bit different because we don't get into the social way of doing it very properly. Okay, so my doctoral thesis was having some little survey also, which is not actually the primary data, rather it is the secondary data. So 1 year ago, I just shared this with my friend while I was writing a paper. So while I was writing this paper, I was sharing the news that, okay, I'm planning to prepare questionnaire and do some survey and all that. But I don't know how to actually do this. So this is what I shared. And he is completely new. He is from a law background, and he said to me that, see, this is something which has to be done in a very proper way. Okay, and you should have consent form. So this person, being from law background, he is actually working in NGO. Okay, so he is working in NGO, so he knows how this researches are done in field. Okay, which I don't have much experience of. So this was a general talk we had. It was not a intellectual talk. So that is when striked me. Okay, there is consent form. There is this people who decide whether this can be done or not. There are so many things that we have to go through. Then I spoke with them. I properly shared it with so many friends. They gave so many inputs about it, and that actually shaped my research into entirely a new one that I submitted 2 years back. So this was completely different, okay, from the way I had in mind 2 years back. This was completely shaped by the people who were interacted with me, not at all relevant to my field. Rather, they are the people who I meet. They are the people who were friends, friends of friends. They are from NGOs. They are from different communities where they indulge in different kind of works. So not even from academic background. Sometime even they helped me in shaping my uh, writing. And one of the recent example that I could give is recently, 1 month back, I wrote a paper. This is again a friend. So he is from different background, not of my background. So I just wrote a paper and just I shared it with him, read it and give me a feedback. So he read and he found out that my argument is very vague. Okay. So in the collaborative critic, what is very important is we have to give the feedback very constructively, and the receiver, no, the writer should also have the mentality and mindset of getting the feedback from them and incorporating it better. Okay, we should not take it in a negative way. Rather, we have to take it positively and try to incorporate it. Only then this will work in our writing, enhancing our writing process. So these are the experiences that I wanted to share with you to understand how very important this is. We think it is very normal, but it's something which will help us in the way which we will never think about. Okay, so let's see this in detail. So this collaborative critique, as I said, it is something which has to be with the process. Okay, it's not something that has to be done at the end. Rather, it has to be done along with the writing process. Then it will help us more better. You can actually check it. You will have a better result when you have a collaborative critique during your writing process itself. Okay? Even sometimes you can even start with having a collaborative critique when an idea strikes for your writing. Okay, that will help you know to shape your writing and how you have to go about it, and so many ideas you can pitch in from your friends. So that will help you. So while peer review typically happens in a formal setting, so this happens in everyday environment. So that's the difference between these two. As I said, it's a small line that differentiates both. This is one of the difference that we could see. Okay, this is something which is very formally done in a setting. That is peer review. Rather, this collaborative critique is not like that. It can happen anywhere. As I said, just like a discussion, just a meeting over a coffee shop or a walk over a street, it can happen anywhere. Okay, there is no formality for that. So it is basically an interactive process where there will be a dialogue between two people, which will help us understand things better, understand our own the clarity of our paper or clarity of our writing. So this actually emphasizes dialogue over judgment. Okay, so this is the very important thing that we have to know about collaborative critique. So it's not a judgment, rather it has to be an emphasized dialogue between both. So this will actually help in the process. As I said, it will not stop with one time. Rather, it has to continue throughout the process for its better result. And this actually transforms this writing as a personal experience into a social experience. Okay? So social and intellectual experiences. So in that way, this collaborative critique helps us far better. Okay, where writing is always something which is very personal, is what we feel, right? So this personal writing is completely transformed into a social and intellectual process or experience when we indulge in collaborative critique. So that actually enhances the value of a paper better. So what is this difference between critique and criticism? What is the real difference? So when we take criticism, it is often judgment. It is not, I'm not telling that it is only judgment. Rather, it is often judgment. So it focuses on pointing out flaws, and there will be hierarchies. Okay, there will be one-sided view of what they are actually trying to tell. And this may actually discourage the effort of the writer. Okay, but when it comes to critique, it is not like that, where it is not judgmental, because it will give us the constructive feedback about what we have written. So this constructive feedback actually focuses on how we have to improve rather than how we are going to stop with it. Okay, it's not going to stop us, rather it is making us more collaborative in doing that work, making us feel that we are not alone to write this, rather there are people to support us in this writing process. And they also help us in focus to improve what we are actually writing. And this actually encourages revisions, which is why I said this is actually a process in which it will have so many, it will involve so many times rather than happening only one time. Okay, so a critic actually builds a writer rather than breaking a writer like a criticism. Okay, so it's very important that we have to understand. how this collaborative critique is in practice. So it is not only in proper formal setup as we already saw, like peer review. It's entirely different. We can have these days we have so many reading circles happening here and there. Likewise, there are few writing circles also. So in these writing circles, we can share our writings, ask people to review our writings and give their feedback so that we can understand where we are actually and what we are lagging in. So in classrooms, this collaborative critique helps as a great tool where in collaboration, students will learn much better. Okay, so in conferences, while we have this Q&A session, that will also be like a collaborative critique where we have to defend what we have said, and there will be sometimes where we have to accept it what we have said is wrong, and we have to enhance our way of argument. So in that way, collaborative critique is not only restricted to certain areas, but it is everywhere. So in co-authorship also it helps. And as I said, it's not only in these areas, rather while we talk with our friends, while we are over a phone with a friend or colleague, we used to discuss, and that time we may arrive at a problem or a solution to particular research. Sometimes when we walk through a street, when we meet someone, we'll get an idea. When we meet someone in a street, we'll get a different perspective to what we are actually writing. So these are something that belongs to collaborative critique from our everyday life. Okay, so it's not only restricted to one thing. So before we move further, I wanted to ask you one thing. Why is collaborative critique important? So as we have seen so far, why is it important? I just wanted to uh, have a quick uh, inputs from you on why is it important. Why do you think this collaborative critique is important? Okay, to build confidence in our work, great. To improve the quality sense standards, thank you. That's actually great. What else? What else makes this collaborative critique important? Yes, to improve our research quality, suggestions make our work effective. Okay. Different insights can help increase validity. Yes. Different insights can help increase validity, come to know why ours is wrong, can publish papers in Q1 journals work. So I wanted to tell there are 4 important areas in which this collaborative critique is very important. Okay. So it is very important for writers because it helps us to clarify what we have written, and it helps us to strengthen our arguments. And the very important part of it is it helps us to find the blind spots. Okay, so usually when we write, we do have so many blind spots. Okay, so this blind spots will help us to understand where we didn't even look into. So this blind spot is nothing but sometimes we'll miss certain area or certain perspective, okay, which naturally happens to anybody. So this can be found out by a writer through this collaborative critique during the writing process. So this is something which is very important for a writer. The second thing is it is very important for readers or reviewers. So it is not only helpful for the writer who's writing, rather it is also helpful for the readers and the reviewers who are reviewing and reading the work, because this is because it actually sharpens our critical thinking and our analytical thinking. So our analytical thinking will be improved once we look into the paper very intricately, when we find the nuanced way of their writing. We actually think more critically and analytically. So that in that way, that will help us grow also as a reader or a reviewer. Okay, so for educators, the third one for whom this is very important is for educators. Okay, well, as I said, mostly I use this collaborative technique because I use activities while I teach. So in this collaborative learning process, they will learn from their peers and they will get very constructive knowledge from their peers. This will help them understand the classes or the concepts that we teach them better. So for educators, it is more helpful. So this is the third thing. And the fourth one is it is very much helpful and important for any institutions because it fosters a culture of academic honesty and dialogue, where while sharing, there are possibilities where the theft of ideas will happen, right? So there should not be that sort of culture. To foster that culture, having this collaborative critique circles is very important to actually bring down this theft of intellectual ideas and all that. Because when we trust them and share, we share things each other. It's not that only one person shares, where everybody shares. So that will build a trust within that circle and it will reduce the possibility of theft. Okay, so this is very important and it fosters a good academic culture of honesty and dialogue in any institution. So it is very important for an institution for that matter. So here I wanted to give you an example. Okay, so here I have highlighted an example. Let's say there are two students who are working on a seminar paper. So one student is sharing the seminar paper with the other student, and the reviewer who is reviewing the other student reviewer who is reading that paper is giving this comment. Okay, so read this. Your main argument is really interesting, especially your take on how language shapes identity. But I was a little confused by the second paragraph. Maybe you could link it more clearly to your thesis. So this is the comment that is given by the student who is reviewing the work of the friend. Okay, so now when you read this, what do you actually understand from this? How is this comment that is given by this student reviewer? What do you think it is? What is it actually giving? It's a healthy and positive comment for improvement in the work. Okay. So what else the comment is doing? It is a healthy and positive comment to improve the work. Okay. Okay, let me break this down for you. So there are three things in this particular statement. Okay, this is a very small statement where this person is giving three important things. Okay, so the first part of, let's break this statement into three different parts. Your main argument is really interesting, especially your take on how language shapes identity. So this particular part of the statement makes it clear to the writer what is actually unique and working in the paper, what is appealing or what is actually working in the paper. Okay, so the reviewer actually affirms something to this writer. He affirms that, so this paper has something which is very interesting. Okay, so this is the first part of the statement that he gives. Let us take the second part of the statement, but I was a little confused by the second paragraph. Okay, so here he sort of questions, okay, indirectly say, I am a little bit confused. Can you clarify it? It's like that. Okay, so there is a question of clarification that is posed into the writer by this reviewer very diplomatically. And the third part of the statement says that maybe you could link it more clearly to your thesis. So this part is actually the suggestion that he gives to the writer. He's not judgmentally telling that you have to do. He's telling maybe you could link it more clearly to your thesis. So this actually suggests to the writer that, see, you are making an argument which is very interesting, but you can make it more clear to link it with your thesis so that it will be understood by everybody. Okay, not only people from the background or your field will understand, rather it should be understood by everybody. So which is why he is asking him to do this thing. Okay, so see the way the statement is. So this is how a collaborative critic should be. It should have three things. Okay, one, it should have one affirmation on what is actually working in the writing. And the second one is the question where the clarification is needed. And the third one is what is very unclear and what could be added to make it more clear. Okay, so that is the suggestion. So these are the three parts that should be there in a collaborative critic. So far we have seen how collaborative critic is, how it should be there, how it should be very important for different places and where it is done, how is it in practice and all that. So now let's see how this collaborative critic is actually made, which will be helpful for us and also our peers. So I just wanted to tell this example. With this, I wanted to tell you three important things that a collaborative critic will have. One is affirmation on what actually works. The second is what clarification is needed. That is the question. And the third one is what could be done to clarify that. That is the suggestion. Okay. With this, let us move on to a mini activity here. Okay, let's practice what we have learned here. Okay, so here I have given you a short statement. Imagine this is a research statement or a writing that is being submitted. So the statement says that women were always oppressed in the past. In many ways, society made it difficult for them to be free. Today, things are better, but still not equal. So how would you give a collaborative critique on this statement? So have what I have told you before in mind. There should be three things. One is affirmation, the other one is question, and the third one is suggestion. Okay. With that, keeping that in mind, I want you all to post your own collaborative critic statement on this particular statement that is given here. Can we do it little quick? A small activity? Only when we practice what we have learned, we learn better. So kindly try to pull in your critique on this particular statement. Let's take 5 minutes of time for this. Kindly pull in your answers for the same. Is there anyone who can respond to this? I couldn't find anything in chat. If you're comfortable, you can even unmute.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
just
Yes.
writing it. Just give 2 minutes more, please.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I could see two responses here. One, but where it starts, but women from different sections of society have different kinds of problems. In the past also there was a difference in the status of women from different backgrounds. From my side, that's all, where it has a continuation, and the present day, the same thing happens. So there is one more response. It says patriarchy is the main cause. The argument put forward is good, but I believe it can be done in a more concise manner. Okay. So there is one more comment saying the statement clearly provides an overview of the past and the present. However, it seems to be generic. Maybe could be improved if supported with a example to the context. Great. So of this, okay, there is one more. How can we differentiate that in the past they are oppressed? I think now the oppression is more prominent in society. Can you give an authentic reason for this? Okay. Okay, of all these different statements here, okay, I want the respondents here to comment on other critique that is being given here. For example, I want Saru Singh to comment on Garima Rati and other comments that is seen here, and Garima Rati to comment on Saru Singh or others' comment. So likewise, we can exchange our ideas. So for this, you can unmute yourself and you can continue. I hope you are also reading those comments so that what do you think about these comments that's made here? Because you have given your own comment here, I'm also asking you to look into the other people's comment and give a feedback on their comment here. Can you please
Okay,
do this fast?
yeah. So, ma'am, my name is Saru Singh, and
Okay.
I would like to, as you said, that I should comment on what Garima has written. She has written, and in the present day, the same thing happens. So it's like it doesn't seem to be. It's more like adding an opinion to the statement. It doesn't seem to be a critique on the statement itself.
Okay, thank you. What about other comments that you have read? Any comments on that?
Patriarchy, Varsha has written patriarchy is the main cause. So it's more like providing a reason to the statement.
Okay.
It's not having a critique. Aditya has written the argument put forward is good, but I believe it can be done in a more concise manner. I think he has given a constructive. He has tried to give a constructive feedback, but the thing is that here a positive affirmation is there in the beginning that okay, there is a positive feedback that the argument is good, but then somehow he has also given some kind of feedback here saying that there is a possibility for improvement, but what type of improvement that can be done, that is
Yes.
missing. Yeah.
Okay. What about others? Garima, do you have any comments on other comments that we are seeing here?
No, ma'am.
Okay, what about others who have commented here? Varsha, Aditya.
Ma'am, I am Aditya.
Yes.
I
Yes, ma'am,
think,
please continue.
yes. Ma'am, I think the other statements were kind of focusing on the content of that statement. I considered it to be like a statement. It is like if it is a beginning of a paragraph or something. I think she is using, whoever the person is using multiple statements which can be put together and made more concise. That was what I thought. But the other statements were talking about the content of the statement itself, which was not what I thought about. So it itself shows how sharing with different
You're not audible, ma'am. Can you come again?
different.
No, your voice is actually breaking. Initially, it was clear. Now it's breaking, actually. Yes, this activity itself shows us how we have different comments to make on one single statement, okay, that is given here. And why I asked you to interchange and validate your comments here is because you have to understand what you are lagging in, even in the process of making comments. And I also want you to understand how your comment is more better than others in both the ways. Okay, so this is what a collaborative critique is actually. Okay, where you share things and understand much better and give your inputs. So here, in my perspective, as I said, I asked the question, I asked you to do a collaborative critique on this particular statement with three things in mind. One, there should be a affirmation. Second, there should be a question. And the third one should be a suggestion. So this is what the structure that I gave you to form a constructive critique to this particular statement that is given here. So, in that way, I think the statement that is given by Saru Singh is more clear, but it could be more specific, is what I feel. Okay, the statement says that statement clearly provides an overview of past and the present. So here, with this part of the statement, she actually affirms to the writer that what is actually working in the paper. It's very clear about past and present. Okay. However, it's very generic, where it's very, very general. Okay. Maybe it could be more specific in what area. If it could be said on what area, it would be more helpful for the writer. That's what I felt. But you have followed all these three. Like you have a question, you say that it seems to be generic, which sort of questions for a clarity. Okay, and then you give them a suggestion. So in that way, it's good. And when I come to Garima, the same thing, where it starts with comments on the direct comments actually. So where we have to give an affirmation and then move on to giving suggestion or comment, only then it will be making the feedback more constructive. So in that way, this feedback is missing. And the other statements is also like that, where it's a general comments you get. But anyway, what I would tell you is all these comments will actually help in building the statement of paper better, because everybody gives a different perspective, where the writer should have the mentality of not only accepting the constructive critic, but also to accept all the critics out there, to understand it, understand what they have written and what they have not written, and the blind spots of their writing, so that it will help them to enhance their writing better. So I hope we all learned this better through this particular activity here. Okay, so through this, I wanted to say what are the principles of good collaborative critique. So what you have to basically do is you should respond. Okay, you should respond to what they have written rather than making a general comment by reacting to it. Like there were a few comments on, okay, there were even in past also there were people in different way. How we cannot start like that. It's kind of reaction to what it is written. For example, for this particular statement that we saw before, if I am making a comment, how do you say that women are oppressed in past? Okay, and how they can they are actually free in the past, but in the present they are oppressed. If I'm making that sort of comment, okay, that would be the reaction rather than responding to what they have written. So to respond to it, we have to carefully understand what is the goal of the writer, okay, before commenting, for which we have to read the work carefully and understand what is their goal so that we will be giving them a constructive comment. Okay? And then we should not be vague in giving, like this paragraph lacks clarity. We should not be very generic or vague. Rather, we have to be very specific. We have to say, you might want to define liberation, okay, in the context of your argument so that it will be better, it will enhance your writing. That's what we can say. Be very specific when you give critique in a collaborative circle of writing. So maintain the writer's agency. So don't impose something into a writer to rewrite anything, okay? Just give them suggestions, ask them questions, make them understand there is also alternative way of thinking towards it, rather than asking them, no, you should not write like this, you have to rewrite this into that. That will not help them to rethink, okay? That might be your perspective. You have to give them as a suggestion so that taking it or not taking it is up to them. So you have to balance both positive and constructive feedback so that it will strengthen their confidence and it will help them in focus. So the very most important thing of all this is, see, looking into the surface of writing, anybody can do it, okay? Fixing the grammars, Grammarly can do it. Even Google Docs can do it. And even the normal Word document can do it. Fixing the grammars, okay? Collaborative critic is not looking for that. Rather, you have to engage with the content. You have to suggest them on what the content is about and what the content is lacking about, which will give them the in-depth idea on how we have to build or construct the writing better. Okay, so we have to respond to the ideas rather than correcting the grammars here. So how this collaborative critique is going to improve our research papers? Okay, when you share your paper, research paper, they may ask, what is this question that, what is the question of the paper, or what's the hypothesis of the paper? Sometimes we even miss the hypothesis. Okay, when I was, to share an experience, when I was preparing slides for my own Viva, okay, PhD Viva, I left the hypothesis statement itself in the PPT. I shared it with every people, whoever I usually have discussions with. So nobody found out. One of my friend found out, and he was asking me, see, there is no hypothesis in that. So where is the hypothesis? So then I was looking into it. Before one day of the presentation, I just found out this and I incorporated. Okay, I left the hypothesis in this. Okay, that's there in my thesis, but I didn't include that in the PPT. Okay, because including that in the PPT is very important. Okay, where you will be asked by the members over there in the panel, where is the hypothesis, is the first question they will ask. Okay, that very important thing itself I forgot. So these are something that improves the way we write or the way we think actually. So it clarifies the research questions. Second thing, it strengthens our argument. Okay, so a second reader can actually point out the gaps, that is the blind spots I told you, where they can say that this claim that you make, this argument that you make is not actually given any support or example from real life or the research, the research arena, where you are not quoting any other research papers. Why is this? So how will you substantiate your argument? This will be their question. So that is when you will go back, think about it, and that will make you to strengthen the argument that you make. So it helps us also look into the methodology, because some people will be very sound in the design of the paper, that is the methodology of the paper, how to use the way of giving in-text citation, or your the way of structuring it and all that. Okay, so in that way, they will also help sometimes, and they will refine the literature review. So this is one of the very important thing that I wanted to share. While I was writing a paper recently that I told you, one of my friend was suggesting and all that I told you, right? So this paper also missed to have one of the important literature review in the paper, okay, which this paper is actually on gender. So I just quoted few writers, where I quoted Foucault, but I left Judith Butler. So you know how important Judith Butler is if you have done research in gender studies. So we cannot even miss Judith Butler when we write something about gender. Okay. So, but I missed quoting that in that paper. So this was found by one of the peer, and they were telling me that, see, this is something which is very important and you missed it. Okay, so that is when I found, okay, I didn't quote Judith Butler, I missed, and then I quoted. So in that way, also sometimes they will refine. It's not only about the ideas, it's not only about the arguments, rather, sometimes we might have not even read few works, okay? There were also suggestions like that that I have received during my research, that is my PhD. So that will actually refine our literature review process, because we cannot read everything out there. There will be people who might have read what we have not actually read. So they suggest it will be better for us to improve. So it enhances the clarity. Okay, sometimes we will write complex sentence. When writing comes as an overflow, we write complex sentences. That will be corrected by them. It reduces the bias. Sometimes based on our inclination, our subscription to the ideas, we may incline to particular argument, but we have to be unbiased, being a researcher. So we have to also be careful with that. So this process actually reduces the bias. And as I already said, it will actually polish the style of the writing, citation, tone, and the way we write the paragraphs and all that. So finally, it will also make us understand and make us aware of the ethical gaps that we have done on how we have handled the data accordingly to our research. Okay, so these are some of the important things that we have to know on how this collaborative critique will improve our research. So we have to understand that research doesn't actually end with the last sentence of the paper or the thesis that we actually write. Rather, it actually shapes better or matures better through reflections, through discussions, reworking, critiquing, and all that. Okay, so we have to accept the fact that it has to grow with collaboration, it has to grow with reflection. Only then we'll improve in our research. It's very important for research process or any writing process that we involve in. So collaborative critique is one such important tool that we have to use for writing our papers, for creative writing, to become a better scholars. Okay, it sharpens our thinking, it sharpens our vision, and it teaches us how to grow our knowledge better, to be best in the community. So I wanted to show you the anatomy of a good peer review. So this actually does three things. Okay, good peer review will actually give you three things. One is it reflects the understanding of the work. The second one is it is very specific and constructive in its feedback. Okay, and the third one is it helps for the growth of the writer. Okay, it enhances the growth of the writer. So it gives an understanding, it gives a feedback, and it also strengthens in the growth of the writer. So these are the three important things that a good review can actually give us. Okay, so how would this peer review will look like? What is a good peer review sounds like? So it should give a summary of the work. Giving the summary of the work is not just like that summarizing what they have written. Okay, going through the nuanced statements, each and every line is very important when we become a reviewer. Okay, so I'm not only talking about the journal review that we end up in, rather I'm talking about the reviews that we end up in doing with our peers or our friends. Okay, so this method is very important to be followed while writing or after writing. So I said to you there is a small thread of line of difference between this peer review and collaborative critic, which I will tell you at the end of the lecture, for which this anatomy of the good peer review is important. Okay, so this not only summarizes in general, rather it makes the argument very clear for us. What is a good argument? Okay, what is the finding? What is the methodology that you have used, whether you have used any methodology or not, whether you have used the right methodology or not. These are the comments that has to be given and in the summary of the work. The second thing that it has to give is, it has to strengthen the work. Okay, it has to give us a feedback on what is actually to be done to make the argument strong. Okay, to make the argument in depth, what is actually lagging in the paper. So they have to suggest in these grounds so that we can think and rework on it. And then they have to also suggest us the areas of improvement. Sometimes we may lose logic, we may miss logic, evidence, organization, structure, and all that. So they have to also give a strong comment on that, which will make us to improve on those areas. Then the fourth one is what has to be revised. Okay, revised in the sense, sometimes there would be some complex sentences that we have made, sometimes grammatical sentence issues will be there. Rephrasing would be needed. Sometimes using words may differ. Okay, we have to be politically right when we make some statements. So those had to be revised. That should also be given rightly by the reviewer. So these are the four important things. And finally, the fifth one is tone and language in the peer review. So the tone and language is also important. It should not be very, very vague, or it should not be ambiguous. It should not confuse the readers. Okay, it has to be very respectful. It has to be objective, very clear, and helpful for the readers to understand what they are actually writing and what they are lagging, what they have to improve. So very professional, if we are maintaining a very professional tone, be very simple in putting it to the writer so that they will understand and rework on their work. So you should not actually try to impress the writer. Rather, you have to think of how we have to improve them. Okay, only then you can keep your language in a very easy way, simple way to understand and make them understand. So for a high quality review, what are all the checklist is? Did I accurately grasp the writer's argument? Am I being unbiased, respectful in my feedback? Did I avoid vague statements like this is confusing? Did I mention what works, not just what doesn't? Okay. Will my comments help the readers, the writer to make improvements? So these are the checklist for a reviewer to give a high quality review. They have to actually think about all these in these grounds. Only then they can give a good high quality review for that matter. So what are the common pitfalls that a writer or a reviewer would make? is actually vagueness. Okay, so they say that this section is not clear. Instead of saying this section is not clear, you have to tell, see, you are telling about feminism or you are telling about subaltern literature, but you are missing this particular statement, which is very widely used by researchers. In that way, you have to be very specific. Overstepping, okay, that this I already mentioned. You should not ask the writers to rewrite. Rather, you have to only support, telling them logically there is no flow here. You can give them as a suggestion, not ask them to rewrite. That is their call to take uh, uh, a decision to rewrite or to rework. Okay, so being overly harsh or too lenient, both will be bad actually for a reviewer, because both will not help the writer in any way. So don't do it. Focusing only on the surface, like correcting their grammar, correcting the basic things like full stop, comma, and all that will be done by Grammarly and so other materials out there. The AI and all that will help in that. Don't do that. Get into the context, get into the ideas of them. Find the logic, find the coherence, and find the structure, not the grammar and the basic surface in which it is written. So these are the common pitfalls that they make. So now I would like to uh, bring a small activity here. Okay. So just pull in your answers in the chat box as we actually usually do, or you can even unmute yourself and you can tell. So here I have given you a statement. Technology is important in education. Many students use it. The internet is helpful for studying, but also distracting sometimes. So for this, you have to frame a review. Okay, so it should identify the main idea, point out one strength, suggest an improvement, and phrase a revision suggestion. So I want you all to understand, you are not going to impress the author, rather you are going to help them to express their ideas more clearly, for which you are suggesting these 4 things. So keep these 4 things in mind and give your answers here in chat box or even in call. You can unmute yourself and you can give. Can we please do this quickly so that we can wrap up with this session soon? Let's take again 5 minutes of time for this. We can do it soon. Is there anyone who's ready with the answer? Can we make it fast so that we can move on to the next one? So benefits and drawback of technology. Okay. So that's the main idea. What else? Can you point out one strength?
The strength can be the statement is relevant to the main idea of the role of technology in education. So I believe that is the strength.
Great. Anyone else have any opinion on this? Okay, so let's move on. So how I look at the statement is, so here the main idea is how education is how education these days is strengthened or made technology more important. Okay, that's the main idea here. And the strength that I could say is, like ma'am said a few minutes back, it's the relevance of the topic now. Okay, in the present scenario, in the education system, we cannot imagine education system itself without this technology. Even in our institution, as being a teacher, being a professor in a college, we actually start our day with technology. Okay, we have this app where we take students' attendance in the app. Okay, we send them reviews in that through the app. We the parents will get the review through app, and students will get to know their fees, everything through the app. So this technology starts even there, and with the learning process, we are asking them to give us typed assignments these days. Okay, assignments not in written, rather than typed one. They use ChatGPT. Even I use ChatGPT to structure my teaching. Okay, sometimes to plan my lessons, sometimes I use ChatGPT. Okay, so this technology can be positively used these times, in this era actually, and it supports us in many ways. So this topic is something that is very interesting because of its relevance in its present time. So here Garima wants to say that the main idea is use of technology. Main strength is the important role of technology in the field of education. Great. And main weakness is few things are there to minimize distractions. Suggestion, there should be such rules and regulations related to technology use in education. Yes. Thank you for your comment. Implication of technology in education. by briefing.
Ma'am,
Thank you
I
for
will,
those answers. Yeah. Yes, please, ma'am,
can I,
continue.
yeah, I just want to also put my thoughts on the suggestion for improvement. I think that there is a need for structural change in the in the statement itself, because it says that the technology is important in education, but then there is a disconnect between there doesn't make sense, because it then begins with stating that many students use it. So it does not specify what exactly it is talking about. Then
Yes.
it starts about saying that the internet is helpful for studying, but also distracting. So if they put many students use it in the end, it would make more sense in terms of the overall sentence formation.
Okay, okay. So this is the revision that we talk about, okay? The one that you said now. And you also suggested improvement, which I also agree with. Because here there is no, they are more generic rather than being specific in this. So they just said that there are distractions. They didn't say what sort of distractions is there. They say that students use it, and they didn't say why students use it, in what way they use it. So their very first part of the sentence itself, that is, technology is important in education. In what way it is important, that they didn't state. So all this doesn't give any in-depth understanding of what they're actually talking about. It is very generic. So these are the suggested improvements that they could make in this particular statement. So we always have to keep in mind that once we write, put it across to the people to whom you could share, whom you trust. Okay, it could be your close friends, not only from your field. Okay, don't think that people from your field or people who are experts in that area only can suggest. Rather, it's you have to give to people who are out there who doesn't even understand what it is, so that you will get a different perspective to it. Okay, so that's my suggestion through this particular session, where these are very important to shape our writing, to shape our perspective. Okay, so sometimes being a subject expert, we'll miss so many things which is relevant to that subject. But who is not even that subject expert will ask a very ignorant question, which will help us to shape our question better, our argument better, and our writing better. So that's what I wanted to tell again and again. Okay, I hope this activity helped you. And I just wanted to suggest few tools that you can use for peer review or for collaborative critique. Okay, so this Google Docs will help you in that very. It will facilitate it very properly, because you can share your document with all your peers. They can comment. Those comments will be highlighted, and each people's comment will be highlighted in different colors, and you can recorrect it. You can take it or not take it. That depends upon you. And it has so many other important tools that it has, where it can it allows people to suggest changes or even change. They can even write along with you. Okay, they can even put in ideas with you in the document. So it will help much better for collaborative writing, peer review, and all that. Okay, this hypothesis .is. So this is actually a portal where you can put in your PDFs, the e-text. This web page actually makes people to collaboratively read, comment. Okay, you can get a close reading through this along with your peers. So this also is a very good tool which you can use for collaborative academic writing. And Overleaf is also like that, where you can do joint research papers and all that. So these are three different tools that I wanted to share to you, which you can check online. It's very easy, user-friendly only. You can just go into the website, use it for free, and understand it better. It doesn't need any basic help and all that to understand it better. You can just like that get into it and understand, like how we did with ChatGPT. Okay. And most importantly, I wanted to also tell you one more thing. So it's not only with your peer members that you have to do, or your friends you have to do. Rather, once you have written something, okay, writing with ChatGPT is wrong for academically. But what you can do is you can put in your paper into ChatGPT and ask for suggestions. You can ask for review. We have to actually train ChatGPT on what we actually need from it. Okay, that's what we can do first. See, for example, I do it. I very effectively use ChatGPT. Like for my classes, once I prepare what I'm going to teach them, I prepare activities for that. Okay. I just upload it as a document to the ChatGPT, and I'll ask it to structure it. Okay. I'll just tell it what's the mentality of the students, what will they do, is this right to click with their mentality. It actually suggests good review. Okay, it actually gives us good feedback, where sometimes it says, okay, this is right, you can go ahead with this. Sometimes it may add something else to what you have already prepared. In that way it helps. And when I write something new, I'll post it. I'll just ask it, what is the gap that is here? Okay, what can you tell me what is the paper is on? What is the main idea that I'm talking about? Can you suggest changes? Can you give a different perspective? If you ask like this, there are suggestions given by ChatGPT also. But only thing that we have to do is we have to validate what it gives, because it's a AI. It gives information based on the previous information that is there. So we have to refine it and validate it. That's the only thing we have to do. But it will actually help in widening our perspective. In that way, ChatGPT is very helpful. So you can use it digitally for these purposes. Okay, so basically for peer review, you can use a rubric. Okay, this rubric can also be prepared by the ChatGPT. You can give a peer review rubric for me. That is the rules for me, so that I can give it to my peer members and ask them to value or validate my paper based on these rules. Okay, you can ask it to prepare. So use a peer review rubric, and then you ask people to review your paper, so that it will be more clear and evident for you. And assign specific roles. When you give it to people, assign specific roles. Think this will be reviewer A, this will be reviewer B. This will be more specific into the subject. This will be in general. Likewise, you categorize people and then you give it to get free feedback. Like train them to give feedback also. As you know how you have to get feedback. If they don't know how to give feedback, you can train them. Like you can train them in the sense you can also train ChatGPT to give your feedback. Okay. And set clear expectations, what you're expecting from them. Set a clear expectation so that each and every comment will be helpful for you. And then use feedback ladder. Okay, have a structured approach to it. As I already told you, set the rules for how your paper had to be reviewed. Okay, and give it to them. So based on this ladder, they will review. It will not be vague, rather it will be very clear, and it will question, it will suggest, and it will do what you actually need for the betterment of your paper. So with this, I want to end this session. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It was a wonderful experience sharing my insights on what is collaborative research and what is peer review. So I just wanted to finish this with one statement. So I said there is this a small line of difference between these two. So this peer review is something that is very formal, okay, which happens in a formal session usually. Okay? We always think that peer review is something that has to be done at the end of the writing process. Okay, so which is why it becomes very formal. Okay, And rather, this when we look into this collaborative critic, it is not like that. It doesn't have any space. As I said, you will walk, you will talk about it. You will be in a tea shop, you can talk about it. Sometimes when you see people, you will get a perspective. In that way, it will become a collaborative critic. When we talk with the domestic workers, sometimes you will get a perspective. They will correct you sometime. They will correct your perspective. In that way, it will become a collaborative critic. So this is something which is very, very informal. Okay. And both are same in a way where we get feedback and refine ourselves, but they differ in the way it is actually done, the process in which it is actually done. That's the basic difference between both, but both are mostly similar. Okay, this collaborative critique we can do everywhere, anywhere, any day at a time. Peer review is something which we formally do, okay, most probably after the writing process, while collaborative critique can be done from the beginning of the writing. Throughout the process you can do. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for your comments. Thank you for being more interactive throughout the session, which energized me to carry out this session well, as I am not well, but still I got up energy with your energetic participation. Thank you so much. If there is any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, letting up.
Yes. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, sir.
So thank you so much, Madhu ma'am. I was waiting for the time till 7:30. You told me that we might be able to continue the class.
Yes.
But anyway, I was started to engage with the audience in another aspect. But sincerely, ma'am, I'm really happy that you have done justice for as a resource person. And I'm really happy. Definitely, I will be taking you in offline mode one day, ma'am, because I was completely inspired by your class. We have the recording session. I will send
Thank you
it to
so
you.
much, sir.
Definitely, I will be inviting as a resource person for offline event. Ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir.
Dear
It means a lot.
participants, successfully we have completed day 9. Tomorrow is a same cooperation for day tomorrow also. Today is a good day and tomorrow will be the better tomorrow. Good night, everybody. God bless.